I think that very long L-sits are not great for your lower back. I've recently thrown my back out twice, immediately after doing long L-sits. Not badly, just enough to put me in a little bit of pain and force me to be extra careful for a couple of weeks. I recently had to take about 4 months off of my regular training because of my shoulder injury. I didn't stop training entirely, but the only upper body work that I let myself do, other than physical therapy exercises, were things that didn't involve any shoulder movement and that kept my shoulders in kind of a neutral position. So I did planks and L-sits and whatever you call this. And since that was all I could do, I decided to give it my all and really train them hard, especially the L-sit. Now, I've never worked on L-sits. First of all, they're boring. And second of all, they were so easy for me that they seemed almost trivial. I used to do a lot of press handstands, so I would start and finish in an L-sit, but I don't think I ever tried to see how long I could hold one. So, much to my surprise, I found that although they seem very easy, I couldn't really hold them for more than about 15 seconds. They seem easy at first, but after just a few seconds, they get really hard, really fast. But I stuck with it and slowly got better at it, and just a few days ago I achieved a 60-second hold. I'll show it to you in a minute. Anyway, along the way, I made a couple of observations about very long L-sits. The first observation was that unlike many other static positions, the thing that makes holding an L-sit for a long time extremely hard is breathing. It almost turns into more of a breathing exercise than a strength exercise. Why? Well, breathing directly interferes with your ability to hold the position. In order to hold the L position, you have to contract your abdomen tightly, but in order to breathe, you have to loosen up your abdomen. It's just really hard to breathe while maintaining this position. Now, if you're reasonably good at the L, this effect doesn't become obvious until you're 10 or 15 seconds in. Then, all of a sudden you realize that every time you take a breath, you have to fight like crazy to keep your legs from dropping. And, as you tire, you need to breathe more and more often. The whole thing snowballs and the difficulty increases exponentially. I think that other static holds that involve keeping your abdomen very tight also suffer from the same problem. The front lever, for example. But I think it's especially problematic for the L-sit. And I would argue that holding L-sits for a very long time is not particularly useful. It doesn't seem like a great way to train strength because the breathing is so difficult. And I don't think it's a good way to train your breathing either. For example, I've recently been doing weighted squats for moderately high reps. Now that's a good breathing exercise. You get out of breath and you really have to concentrate on breathing properly. But with that type of exercise, you can breathe. There's nothing stopping you from breathing deeply. With the L-sit, the hold itself prevents your diaphragm from moving very much. Okay, that's the first thing. My second observation is this. I think that very long L-sits are not great for your lower back. I've recently thrown my back out twice, immediately after doing long L-sits. Not badly, just enough to put me in a little bit of pain and force me to be extra careful for a couple of weeks. And after thinking about it for a while and learning some anatomy, I think I now understand how it can hurt your back. And to help explain it, I'm going to show you my 1-minute L-sit. Incidentally, when I realized that the L-sit was hurting my back, I decided to stop doing it. However, at that point, I was getting about 45-second holds, and I really wanted to get a 1-minute hold, just to say that I'd done it, which is one of those dumb things that I probably shouldn't be doing. But anyway, I decided to just go for it, give it my all, and record it. So this one right here is probably the last very long L-sit that I'll ever do. You can see that it looks pretty effortless at first. My feet don't start dropping until around 30 seconds, but after that it starts going downhill. It does get pretty ugly near the end, to the point where some people would say that it's not an L anymore. But I decided it counts as long as my feet don't touch the floor. Anyway, here's the problem. The hip flexors are heavily involved in holding an L, and the muscles that are probably most responsible for holding the position are the psoas muscles, which connect from the femur directly to the lumbar spine. You probably see where this is going. After you've been holding the L for a while and you start to get tired, you have to fight like crazy to prevent your legs from dropping. You also start to tremble and shake uncontrollably, and it becomes harder and harder to get a breath. But you also have to breathe more often. If you hold it past when your legs start dropping and you start shaking uncontrollably, your psoas muscles are going to be yanking like crazy on your lower spine. It seems obvious that this could cause problems in your lower back, especially if it's already compromised, like in my case. I don't want to overstate this. If you're younger and or you don't have any back problems, then you'd probably never notice it. And even for me, At 55 years old and with a long history of back problems, it was pretty minor. But if you kept doing this for a long time, I think it could lead to back problems or exacerbate existing problems. However, I'm not against training the L-sit. I think that it's something that all calisthenics people should master. And for me, I still want to get my straight arm press to handstand back at some point, so I do need to stay strong in that position. It's just that the way I was going about it was crazy in retrospect. I was doing 4 sets, each time holding it as long as I could, and I was supersetting them with dips, so I started each L-sit already fatigued and partly out of breath. Of course, that makes all the problems worse. I think it's more useful to train something like this for shorter durations. If you get to the point where you can hold it for 30 seconds, say, then rather than continuing with longer holds, it's probably better to increase the intensity and use shorter holds. For now, I'll probably do 20 to 30 second holds just to maintain it. And if I want to get stronger in the position, I'll add ankle weights or use a more extended position to make the move harder. But hold it for less time and make sure that I don't let my legs drop. An alternative position that's really great for training your core and which doesn't make it as hard to breathe is the hollow body hold. It's foundational for gymnastics and calisthenics, and it seems friendlier on your back than the L-sit. I think it's very safe for your back as long as you maintain the correct hollow position. I'll put a link in the description to a really nice video from Fitness FAQs about proper form in the hollow body hold. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more content like this. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or any questions. I'd be especially interested if anyone out there has ever had any back pain related to L-sits or anything similar. Good luck with your training, and I'll see you in the next video.